Hello everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. In this video, I wanted to provide you with a little bit of a review / tutorial using some new full coverage makeup products. Couple of things in particular that we'll be talking about today are this Laura Geller Cover Lock Foundation, which I think I may have shown this in a picture somewhere on Snapchat or Instagram, and I received a lot of questions on it, so I wanted to follow up there. And then another thing that I've been wearing quite a bit lately is this Physicians Formula Insta Ready Full Coverage Concealer. So I thought this would be fun to show as well with this product. And I'll be using a couple of powders that I enjoy also as part of this look. This Laura Geller foundation is a cream foundation. It does have a little bit of thickness to it, but at the same time, it's definitely not drying on the skin at all. I think this is the kind of foundation that a person with normal to dry skin could enjoy, but also even if you're in the combo oily bracket, if you apply it lightly and make sure to set it, it could be good for you as well. I mean, I have had fantastic staying power with this product. And then with the Physicians Formula Insta Ready, we're talking about a really like concentrated concealer here. It definitely is the full coverage look that they claim. I am most definitely dealing with dark circles these days. I did not incorporate any sort of corrector, peachy corrector step in this look to counteract the bluish dark circles that I tend to have. And this and this alone seem to still do a really good job. So here's a closer look at all of these products being applied. So starting out, I've dampened my NYX sponge here, so that's nice and plump and really soft. And I've got my Laura Geller Cover Lock Cream Foundation, and this is in the shade Light. And what I've noticed about this shade is it is just a little bit on the peachy side for my skin tone, but I get, I would say, like a small pearl-sized amount squeezed out here, and then I just kind of dab that all over the face, focusing mainly on the areas where I know I want the most coverage, and then I can sort of blend outward from there. And I like to use the round end of this sponge to start blending this foundation all over, and you can immediately see the coverage is really pretty good with this. And I've tried applying it with some dense foundation brushes, and that goes pretty well. I mean, it seems to really maintain the coverage nicely, but it's a thicker look on the skin. It's like after the fact, once the makeup is completely applied and then you look at yourself in some natural daylight, you're like, oh, okay, that looks a little bit heavy. But this sponge being damp, it really makes the product mesh with my skin a little bit better. So I'm still getting good coverage, but it's looking a whole lot more natural. And I've also found that this foundation doesn't set too terribly quick on my skin, so I am able to kind of dot it around like I did and not be in too big of a rush to get it blended, fearing that it's gonna really lock in color-wise. I do have plenty of time to get it blended. But again, on my skin tone, that shade called Light, as you can see, once it's all blended in, it seems to work well enough. But when you first see it dotted around, it kind of makes you wonder. Now, the next full coverage product that I'm gonna be adding in is this Physicians Formula Insta Ready Full Coverage Concealer. It comes in a little bitty pump style bottle, and it does come with this sponge. And I've tried this sponge. It's about the size of like one of those mini Real Techniques sponge. It has just the littlest slant tip there at the end. And I've tried saturating that with water, you know, squeezing out the excess and seeing what I have. And it really doesn't change the sponge much. It doesn't grow in size. It doesn't soften up too much. Some people may still like this. I mean, it really is kind of a stiff sponge. It's not super soft to work with, but for me, I just don't find that it enhances the application of this concealer at all. So I just stick with the same NYX sponge that I've been using if you really want to keep it simple, or if you want to pull in a separate sponge, I like the softness of a Real Techniques mini sponge, a Beauty Blender Micro Mini, one of those Whispers sponges from Walmart, you know, whatever it may be. There are plenty of nice soft mini sponges out there, and I just wasn't too impressed with the one that actually comes with this concealer from Physicians Formula. But anyway, I have it in the shade Light, and the one difficulty you might find with this is that the pump is so stiff. I feel like I have a hard time dispensing just a really small amount of product with this. You know, it's easily going to go all the way down, but if you're trying to just go maybe a quarter of the way down and just get the smallest amount of product, it's sort of hard to control. So I'm going to attempt to just go no more than halfway down with this pump and you know, that amount of product, as you will see, is going to be plenty for both under eyes and anywhere else on my face that I need concealer. So I will show you that right now. The consistency of it, pretty liquidy. I think you'll find this gives better coverage than you might expect for such a liquid consistency concealer. But I just really cater to the under eye area first and foremost, and then a little bit around the nose. If I have any left over, I kind of hit the top of the nose where I might want a little more brightness, you know, the upper lip area, the chin. And then the beauty of this NYX sponge, as I've said several times, I can put my finger right here on the flat side. I've got this nice curve happening here, and then that can really reach my innermost corner of the eye area nicely and pat that product in. As you can see, nice coverage and really bright too. It blends in very quickly. I think being more of a liquidy concealer as opposed to a really thick cream, just a few dabs over it, and I feel like, yeah, you know, it's kind of become one with the skin and really doesn't require too much extra beyond that. And just dabbing around sides of the nose here. And just kind of feeling my skin now that I've applied the Cover Lock foundation and now this concealer. They're not overly dewy. I don't feel like my skin is a sticky, tacky mess after I've applied this stuff, but yet it doesn't all completely set to a finish that is super dry, maybe 100% matte. I would say it's a mostly matte finish, but the feel to the touch is just the slightest bit tacky. If that's bothersome to you at all, you'll probably want to set this with some powder, or if you're oily at all, you'll probably want powder as well. But if you're on the dry side, you know, that might really work nicely for your skin. Same with the under eye area. Definitely the kind of thing I'm going to want to at least lightly set with powder just for staying power purposes. So what I'm going to pull in is a product that's definitely not new to the market. It's new to me. I tried this fairly recently. It's the Laura Mercier Translucent Loose Setting Powder, and I have loved this for setting the under eye area or just all over the face. And I'm going to do this kind of thick because we are talking full coverage here, so I'm going to give my powder a little shake there. I'm going to continue to use the same sponge we've been working with, only I'm going to go to the flat side of my NYX sponge now and just dab into a little bit of this loose powder, and we're going to bake a little bit here on the under eye area. So dabbing it on, going for kind of a thick application, then we're just going to let that sit for a bit. I like to do a little bit of this powder on the chin as well, down the nose also. As you can see, just the tone of it, it's going to come off a little bit brightening on my skin tone. It's a little bit lighter than my skin. And it has a definite mattifying effect. I think it does add some coverage, even though it's called a translucent powder. I certainly see additional coverage whether I apply it this way or even just lightly with a brush to dust over the area, just to kind of change the consistency of whatever concealer I've put on there. Or not the consistency, but the texture of it, the feel. I certainly see extra coverage after I've done that. So what I'm going to do now is allow this to bake and kind of sit there on the skin for just a few minutes. And while it's doing that, I can go ahead and do my brows, or you could do, you know, any other element of your makeup that you wanted to. Now that that powder has had a few minutes just to sit there on the skin and bake, as they say, I'm going to take a just sort of lightweight loose brush here. This is a Spotlight Duster F37 from Sigma, and you just kind of dust away that excess, and what I find is left behind is a really even, really full coverage effect on the under eye area. Skin is looking extra matte now. It's feeling really just kind of silky smooth after that powder has been on there. But the last sort of thing that I'm going to do as part of this full coverage face routine, a new thing that I'm trying, is this CoverGirl Outlast All Day. It's a pressed powder. It says matte finishing powder, fair to light. And I've been using this on and off just as kind of a light finishing touch, as the name implies, you know, all over the skin. And I'm not looking really to brighten quite as much as I did on the under eye area with that Laura Mercier powder. So this is just sort of a nice all-purpose, go everywhere powder. Going to continue to have that matte finish on the skin. And my main thing at this point is just taking away any tackiness left behind by the foundation, which isn't a ton, but there's enough of it to sort of make me wonder about staying power and transferring potentially. So this powder, I think, helps with that. It helps lock everything in. So once I finished with those face products, here are the other things I brought in color-wise. I used my Makeup Revolution Ultra Contour palette. I just used one of the matte cool contour shades and took that around my hollows of my cheeks and around my hairline. And then as a blush, I used my Too Faced Papa Don't Peach blush for a little glow, a little color there on the cheeks. Then went back to my Makeup Revolution palette and I used that really shimmery light shade as a highlight on top of my cheekbones, because I just felt that this really overall matte look could definitely handle a little extra glow there. Oh, and I also topped things off with a little Hard Candy Sheer Envy Hydrating Primer Mist. I think that really brings everything in this look together when you're dealing in full coverage makeup. Stuff that could come across as looking a little heavy on the skin. I think several spritzes of this particular setting mist really helps the look a whole lot. But overall, if you're a fan of full coverage, I mean, I definitely am, and I really enjoy this Laura Geller Cover Lock foundation. The shade isn't just 100% perfect, but I do love the coverage, and when I apply it with a sponge, I really like the finish on the skin as well, because I feel like while it is matte, it's not unnatural looking, and it wears really flawlessly throughout the day for me. To put it in perspective coverage-wise, I feel like maybe it's a little more coverage than just the standard Estee Lauder Double Wear, and it's a little bit closer to their maximum cover version, I would say. Maybe not exactly as much coverage as that, but it's nearing that level, but it's going to have a more natural appearance on the skin than that product does. But this is the kind of product that I've had on my skin and I have definitely not touched up throughout a day, and then I'll get a glance at myself, you know, while I'm changing a diaper, and I look up in the mirror and I'm thinking, wow, that has held up flawlessly with no additional effort, no added powder put on. It's just looked really good. Now this concealer, I've got some stuff I love about it and just an overall thing that I don't love. I can be okay with the fact that this is a really concentrated product and you don't need to use a lot of it, but if that's going to be the case and you're just going to have this tiny little bottle, I really think the pump has to be something that can deliver just exactly the small amount you might need. As you saw in the demo, I can do a partial pump of this and get a smaller amount, but I would like to get even less than that because I felt like what I had even went, you know, beyond the under eye, and frankly it probably gave me more than I needed for that area alone. So I do think there needs to be a little bit more control with this product. That's just one small gripe that I have, but I think this looks great on the skin. It reminds me quite a bit, actually, the look of the packaging and the way it goes on in the coverage. It reminds me so much of the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer, only it doesn't get quite as much of a total dry down matte look happening when it's all applied. Not saying this is thick and sticky, but I think it's just a little more natural looking while still having a lot of coverage. Another really popular concealer these days is the Tarte Shape Tape, and I think this is kind of along the lines of that type of product as well. I think if you tried that and you tried this, you would feel like you were getting really similar coverage, a similar finish and feel on the skin, same kind of blendability happening there. So that is kind of nice to see in the drugstore. And what's cool about this is I have applied this all over as a full coverage foundation. I feel like one full pump of this is adequate to get all over the face. You blend it in and it actually has a really good look. I've enjoyed it like that. So I was really pretty impressed by this product from Physicians Formula. It does say full coverage on it, but how many things have I tried that have said full coverage and they really just don't measure up at all? So I was really pleasantly surprised by that. The Laura Mercier powder as part of this look, I mean, you don't need me to really sing the praises of this product. So many people love this. I do think it works really well for setting under eye concealer or setting all over the face. And then this CoverGirl Outlast All Day, I don't know that it's anything super like must-have remarkable. I do think it has helped the staying power of this foundation and other foundations that maybe just need a little texture help when it's all said and done, you know, just a little something to lightly dust all over. It definitely mattifies, and I think it helps lock everything in. All in all, it's doing what a powder should do, but a lot of other powders could probably pull off a similar job for you. So that's my take on a few newer full coverage products that I've been trying out. I just wanted to show them in action and let you know how they've been going for me. So far, really well. I'm really impressed with that Laura Geller foundation in particular. Application, finish, staying power, it really seems to check all the boxes for me. So I hope this video was helpful for you. Thank you guys so much for taking time to watch, and I'll see you next time. Bye.